Welcome to another edition of Salty Takeaways. Doubt very seriously there will be a whole lot of bitter ends, although I do know where one bitter end will be coming in this particular discussion. It is the Three Musketeers. It is Jarrett. It is Nick. It is John here to talk about the 2-1 win for Atlanta United in D.C. against D.C. United. Jarrett, I have a number between 1 and 10 in my head. Pick it. So much for wanting folks to figure out who's going to go first.
7.
Right on. Jarrett Smith, you win the toss. You go first. Opening statement, Jarrett Smith.
Jesus, didn't even let Nick get a shot in. Jesus Christ. Well, Nick didn't get a shot, which could be said as well for Joseph Martinez when he should have had a shot at his second goal, but was denied by a keeper sticking his leg out, making a play, and then VAR not doing its job. Nima Sagafi, we need to have a conversation about your inability to manage a game because it sucks. And it almost ruined what was a drunken affair in the nation's capital between Atlanta and D.C. We'll get to that, I'm sure. Nick, I'm sure you have thoughts on this as well.
Mm-hmm.
For my opening statement, though, cojones. It's the word of the day. Because the team played with cojones tonight and was just so damn impressive, even when it seemed like the second DC goal kind of felt like it was a formality, like it was coming, but it never did. And the defense, it reminded me strongly of 2018 in Minnesota, where Atlanta scores in like the third minute and then plays 70 minutes down a man because LGP gets sent off. And I think Michael Parker said like 25 or 30 clearances that game. Everybody on the field was doing defensive work. And tonight it felt like that. It wasn't perfect. You were missing bodies left and right. Amar Sadic and then Mateus Zetu are playing a single defensive midfield role with no help. Not because they're the first choice guys, but because you're missing everyone else who has that CDM tag next to their name. This was all hands on deck. And this is what you've been missing. And I don't mean that in this way of, some magical unlocked elixir, but you've been working so hard and the rewards haven't really been there. But tonight, you worked your ass off and you got those in a night like this, you need, and this is why you pay those money for those guys. You need those moments of individual brilliance, and you got them. Everybody defended well, and the guys who you pay the big money to gave you the moments of individual brilliance that you needed against a team that, like, I like Hernan Losada a lot more than I thought I would. But DC doesn't have that same caliber of talent, and it showed tonight. But you got those moments that you need, and that we haven't talked in a while. Sorry, I've been on vacation. Atlanta, because of that makeup, is a team you'd want zero problems with in a one-off game.
Opening statement, Nick Alifi. Nick, you're muted.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Opening statement. Statement, Nick Alifi.
Yeah. Look, the ref is an amateur. That's it. That's my opening statement. The ref is an amateur. Guzin had that major mistake. Outside of that, it's 4 points, man. It's 4 points, and there was. I don't think if you got Rob Valentino on a less than stellar night, and he was about 3 sheets to the wind, and you asked him, "Hey, Rob, did you think you were going to pull this number of points out during your interim run with Atlanta United?" I have a feeling he'd probably be like, no. But you know what? He did it. So there's big things in that man's future, for sure. I love the fact that he's staying with the team. I love the fact he's staying with the organization. Just keep that man in the that man in the queue and have him ready to go because he's earned his paychecks for sure. And I certainly hope, Darren, that you may have incorporated some special bonuses and or any sort of, contract uplifts for the good man. I'm just saying it's good to people some, reward people for exceptional performances. So I'm just throwing that out there. But the ref is a disaster. The ref is a comical disaster. And I don't even know the goon's name to start with.
Nima Sagafi.
Okay, Sagafi. Okay, all right, whatever. No, his name is the Bum. That's his name. The fact that this guy allowed this game to get away from him in the manner in which he did, I understand the old school let him play mentality, but at the same time, as we have discussed repeatedly on this show, the greatest differentiator between this league and all of our peer groups is that the officiating is an absolute unmitigated disaster. It is easier to name the good refs than it is, and I emphasize that last part because I can think of like one, maybe two, and the rest are borderline okay to nightmarish. And that's the one, the massive differentiator. No matter what business you're in, when you do any sort of competitive analysis, you always look for one magical word, and that is differentiator. What's the thing that separates us from them? And if it's England, if it's Italy, if it's Spain, if it's the Netherlands, even Jarrett, the Scottish Premier League, La Liga, Liga MX, all the way down, the officiating is at a completely different standard than what it is here with pro. And I know that Howard Webb is working very hard on this, but I really don't have too much faith in Howard Webb after he allowed essentially the kumite to take place in that World Cup final that was his last last game in charge. But I don't know what can be done. I'm really at a loss when it comes to the officiating in this league. But short story long, Atlanta United walks out with 3 points, and Gonzalo Pineda has just a bandit laid in front of him. This team is back into position. They're in a competitive position now, which is what you want. They have a ton of injuries, which you don't want, and they have some things to clean up. I think this loss, this loss for DC, they're going to be kicking themselves because this was a prime opportunity for them to catch Atlanta with injuries. You couldn't do a lot of phenomenal tactical substitutions, and really credit to, in my opinion, and I'm willing to hear disagreements on this from anywhere out there, Rob Valentino bringing in Josetu to fill in at the 6. I thought it was twofold. One, because you didn't have a ton of manpower.
Yeah, you didn't have a ton of manpower, yeah.
But it also served when you're getting pressed heavily. What happens is when a team is pressing, they are targeting people who they think will be weak with the ball at their feet. And what you want to do is turn any time a player has that ball into a 50-50 opportunity. You press them, it creates a 50-50 opportunity. The ball is, anywhere between 18 to 20 yards, 18, 20 yards away from the goal or in. Higher percentage chance of the ball going in the back of the net. With Josetu in there, you had someone who was very comfortable with the ball at his feet. He could play through the press. It allowed Atlanta opportunities, especially as DC started to slow down because they couldn't keep up that level of pressure. Ball gets circulated out. You had opportunities, a few that got away from you, and then finally Moreno coming in and just bringing that daisy cutter to the back post. DC's keeper with concrete in the feet, like the old days up at the docks. He had the concrete on his feet and was sitting there drowning, watching that ball shoot right past him into the back of the net. Baby, it was a beautiful thing. And just as we said,
can we talk about how hard that is to be cutting right at full speed?
Oh my God.
And to get your laces around the
Mm-hmm.
ball and put it
Mm-hmm.
with that kind of pace.
Yes.
Like that's not an easy. It's not easy to hit that accurately.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not easy to hit it accurately. And this is what we were talking about previously last week when the question came up about, why certain people were seeing some Moreno hate on the timeline. And what did we say? Look, everyone's going to have a game or two where they're not necessarily at their all-time best, but this dude performs. I mean, this guy, he's taking punishment left, right, and center. He's not hitting the ground with regularity. He's only hitting the ground when somebody's like taking a machete to his legs. Outside of that, he's maintaining the possession of the ball and distributing. And then, just like you said, Jarrett, to work up to the right and then cut over and wrap your foot just enough to get it to squeeze into that back post at pace. Oh my God, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. I loved it.
All right, let's take a look at some of the numbers for the stats of the match, courtesy once again of our friends at SofaScore. For Atlanta United, Joseph Martinez and Ezequiel Barco, 7.6 and a 7.8. Araujo with a 7.5. Amar Sejdic with a 6.7. Marcelino Moreno, you guys were talking about Marcelino here in the first 10 minutes of the show. Marcelino Moreno punched an 8.8 tonight for Atlanta United, courtesy of SofaScore. Miles Robinson and Anton Walks at the back had 7.2s. Alan Franco a 6.9, Lennon a 6.6, Bella with a 6.3, Brad Gazan with a 7.3. Some of the other stats in the match itself. Atlanta United finished up, believe it or not, even with that 20-minute point in the second half with 53% of the possession. Total shots, 27 shots for DC United tonight. Only 7 on target, though. Atlanta United had 13 shots, 4 of them on target, 7 blocks for DC compared to 2 for Atlanta. 19 fouls, and this is what you guys were getting into as well. 19 fouls called on DC United. 9 fouls called on Atlanta United. Also on the board, Atlanta United passing at an 82% clip with 436 total passes. Also, believe it or not, 82% as well, but not as many passes for DC United. 7 of 20 on crosses was DC. 3 of 14 for Atlanta United. The duels were won by Atlanta United 64-42, although the aerials were 12-11 to DC. 15-14 in tackles for DC. 13 interceptions for Atlanta United tonight, 13-8 in the overall, and clearances were even at 17 apiece. Jarrett, is there anyone in particular, other than Marcelino Moreno, that you would like to discuss on the table this evening?
It's been pointed out to me already that I should be happy because of the performance of my large adult son. But let's go ahead and talk about coming into the game when Alan Franco, who's been really good, is unable to keep going. But my large adult son, George Campbell, dude's the same age, or right around the same age that Miles was when he was drafted. And is just out there not only taking his opportunities when he gets them, but getting put into situations like we talk about, putting young guys in a position to succeed. He's getting put into positions that are not tailor-made for him to succeed. And I don't mean that to say that he's set up to fail, but you want to build young guys' confidence. That doesn't always happen with him. He's being thrown into tough situations, and he just rolls with it because he's an absurdly freakish athlete, and his brain, I think, his brain is caught up with his body in the way he's thinking about the game, the way he's seeing the game, the way he's executing the game. It's very fun to watch him grow up before your eyes. And having him be that guy who can step in and challenge for these opportunities is just a damn joy to watch. Seeing him do that is awesome to see. A guy who, was anchoring a back line with Wesley Dacos a couple years ago in Kennesaw, and here he is now getting clearances, triggering counterattacks to kill time.
With a sombrero.
Well, yes. George Campbell just being the Atlanta United center back prototype of our new favorite game, Atlanta United center back or mid-2000s SEC strong safety.
And Campbell, by the way, punched a 7.1 on SofaScore this evening. Nick, who else was on your radar tonight?
From an Atlanta United perspective, I'm going to say that it was Barco in my mind. I thought a lot of really good things tonight. His passing, he had one diagonal incisive pass in one of the final counters that ended up getting snuffed out toward the end, but his timing on that at speed was just spectacular. And Barco, since coming back from Argentina's failed I want to call it an excursion, Olympic excursion.
An Olympic appearance.
Right. The appearance. He's been just on fire since he got back. And I'm just thrilled with, and I'm sure that the team and the front office is seeing dollar signs as, people are watching him play with full fitness and mental clarity. So, yeah, Barco looked phenomenal to me. And I think the greater conversation here is, what happens now with this team as we move forward with Gonzalo Pineda, because this team looks like they're humming on all cylinders, even with the injuries. I think that there's that team spirit that's there right now. And that gets made fun of a lot, the whole team spirit thing. But, if you look at a team like Columbus that had just a Legionnaire march to the title last year, and then what they're doing now, you could see when a team's broken. And then this Atlanta team had so many opportunities to just fall down and die, and they're not. They're still fighting. They're still, even though they have so many things going against them, they are still pulling together win after win after win after win. You have the new manager coming in. He's met the players. It seems to be a fairly seamless transition. It's going to be very interesting to see what next week looks like. But the team spirit to me, you want to talk about the things that stick out to me, Barco and the team spirit overall. Those are the things that stick out to me. It's been really good to watch. If I need to talk about good things, I need to talk about something that I think needs improvement upon. Mm-hmm. Guzan must be more aware on set pieces. He had a lot of really good moments tonight, but that set piece goal should have never happened. He came off his line. He was trying to direct traffic, and DC was like, yep, we're going to take that. And they parked it, and they did exactly what they were supposed to. It was beautifully taken, and Guzan's got to get better about that. So,
looking at the standings here in the East after the action with DC United and Atlanta, right now you have 5 points separating 3 through 8. Philadelphia at 32, Nashville at 32. Nashville with one less win, one less game played. Also, NYC, as we're discussing this, Hudson River has not started tonight because of weather in the area. They are on what it seems like a perpetual weather delay with the impending hurricane that is working its way up the eastern seaboard. Montreal is at 28 points at 7, 7, and 7 through 21. DC United has 2 more wins than Atlanta, goal difference of +1 at 27 points. Atlanta United is now 8th with a goal difference of -1 at 27 points. Recent form here in the East, Atlanta, 4 wins on the spin with a draw in their last 5. DC United has now lost 3 in a row. Montreal has drawn their last 2, unbeaten in their last 3. Orlando City, as we're watching the action tonight, they have 3 draws in a row coming into this particular match that they're playing tonight. NYC is all across the board. They've ticked one in each of the boxes in their last three. But right now, it looks like you're talking about 5 points separating 3 through 8 in the Eastern Conference. Any other points, Jarrett, that you wanted to discuss before we get into questions? And Nick, I will ask you the same thing. Any other points that you guys want to mop up before we head into questions from the folks?
I will reiterate what I said a couple weeks ago, and I mean it. And I meant it at the time, and they've done exactly what they needed to do. You let games slip away. You gave away points. You had to steal some back, and this was stealing points tonight. When you didn't have your best stuff, I would say the same thing about Toronto, honestly. Like, you didn't have your best stuff. But this was on the road. You're missing basically your entire defensive midfield. This was stealing points, and you absolutely have to steal points if you want to make the playoffs. Step one done.
Nick, anything else on your board tonight before we get into the questions and statements from the folks?
When you've undergone hardship like this team has undergone recently, when you start sniffing a little bit of fresh air, you can't be a team anymore. You gotta be a group of thieves. You get in, you steal the loot, and you get out. And I think that's where this team is right now. It's a group of thieves. They're not going to just be a team right now. They got to be thieves, and they were thieves tonight up in DC. And that's what you got to be. And don't lose that mentality now that you got a string of 4 wins. That's the key. Don't lose that mentality. You can't plant a flag now and say we made it. You have to keep that momentum going forward, because it can go off the rails just as quickly as it got back on. So the mentality is the key.
All right. So what we will do is get into the submissions from all of the folks. And we want to thank everybody who has chimed in this evening to let us know what they are thinking and some of the topics we have talked about. So we're going to play double open mics under cliffhanger rules. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and run the gauntlet. And if anybody wants to say anything, go ahead and chime in. You can just go ahead and tell me to stop, and we can stop and discuss. Natasha the Kitchen Witch says, Rob Valentino, you absolute legend. Good start there. Chris Croft, a very gutsy performance tonight. Huge 3 points on the road. Turner Kirby says, I still have no idea what happened on the Moreno goal. All I know is that there were bodies on the ground, and an eephus pitch of a shot found the back of the net, and Barco just got fouled again, according to Turner Kirby. Great win on tired legs. Deserved full week off ahead. But once again, remember, just because someone is down doesn't mean that you have to knock the ball out of play and stop. I mean, you can continue to play. That is your decision. If you have possession of the ball, is you can continue to work your offense. You do not have to knock it out and slow everything down.
Yeah, it's like in the movie Spaceballs. And for anyone who's under the age of 30, you have to go check it out. Just trust me, it's a comedy. It's a comedy legend. But at the end of it, Rick Moranis' Dark Helmet character says, "This is why evil will triumph, because good is dumb." And what happened is sometimes good is dumb. They see the player down and they're like, "Oh man, we got to be sporting. We have to kick the ball out." And then sometimes it's okay to turn on that little evil hat and be like, "No, we're still going to keep going. Thanks." And thankfully Atlanta was like, "Yeah, we're just going to keep going. We appreciate that. Good luck staying down there. Let me know how the grass smells. Goal, So in this case, good was not dumb. Good was very wise and kept playing.
Because good is dumb.
That's right. Oh, what a marvelous movie.
David, at Who Took My Thrash. I like wins, but Rob Valentino's left our new boss, a group of players in Barco, Joseph, and Moreno running on empty. Need to get Ibarra and Mulroney healthy and getting a little time on the pitch.
There's a reason Barco hasn't played a ton of games always for Atlanta United. They got fouled, I think, 8 or 9 times tonight.
8.
He just gets his ass beat over and over and over again. And doesn't always get the calls that he should. So, he just gets mauled. And Sagafi started handing out persistent infringement yellows, but it took a little bit of time. And Barco's not a big guy.
No.
There's only so much abuse that human being can take. Look, the spirit is willing, but but the flesh is spongy and bruised.
Mm-hmm.
As famed theologian Zach Brannigan once said.
Yes. Nathan Pugh is in tonight, and he says that was like eating a frag grenade, but in a good way.
Pew pew pew. Yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking.
Yeah, I can buy that. Yeah, I'm not mad at that enough. I can buy that.
Nick will enjoy this. I would say it was like eating an MRE because I knew people who were in ROTC. I knew people who were in ROTC in high school who, at one instance, brought MREs to eat at lunch. I think they thought it made them cool or something.
Oh, my God.
They voluntarily opened an MRE in the lunchroom.
Let me go ahead. I'm going to get really uncomfortable for a moment to anybody who thinks that's a great idea. MREs lock up your digestive system. Like, they lock it up. You don't want that smoke. You don't want that smoke unless you have to. You don't want it. Just take it from someone who knows. Yeah, I don't want it.
You don't want that smoke.
Carrying around like a cinder block. It's terrible. Ugh.
Turner's back, as is Mr. Fantastic. Comments about Brad Gazan. Turner says, Goose will get rightful criticism for the goal he allowed, but he was next level massive in that second half. Don't understand the hate the guy gets sometimes. And Mr. Fantastic, Goose was massive tonight. The Atlanta counter was spot on in punishing DC's backline. Hell of a win. Looking at Brad in the second half, there was the cross that he got his hand on to change direction of it in the 48th. You had the moment in the 61st, just before the Hasetu sub, where he was sliding. He goes from one direction to the other and gets the slide. I think he hit it with his left leg. Then the daisy cutter from Skundrich in the 68th was a moment for him. And also you had the save in the 87th through all of that traffic that he had to keep his eye on, and he just pushes it to his right wide. So that's four moments that I can think of in the second half where Brad Gazan came up big for Atlanta United tonight.
Yeah, we already discussed the botch, but after that, it seemed to really wake him up, and he had some phenomenal saves that really kept Atlanta in the game. The ball was ping-ponging around right in the 6 almost, yeah. And he seemed to be Johnny on the spot. So, good for him. And as far as the count, we were discussing in our DM thread that when DC really turned up the pressure, it was like, yeah, I don't think they can keep this up for that long. And then they committed their back line forward. When they did that, and like we discussed last week, anytime you do a press, you're trying to figure out where you're going to allow that space to exist. And they allowed acres of space.
Acres and acres of space.
It was like the full Broadway accompaniment of Oklahoma. It was just wide open plains. And then, when Atlanta would break, they can break very quickly. And DC got put on skates. It created lots of space that was unaccounted for, and Atlanta made him pay.
Also on the board, Will Secor, who is a part of our Twitch pitch, gets into our preliminary discussion that we had. He says, the referee was so bad, I'm surprised he didn't give the goal LA scored when Joseph was offside.
Jarrett, you want that one? I've already.
No, go ahead. I don't feel like getting. I don't feel like getting fined.
You're here so you don't get fined. Turner says, also, is it possible that the fan base can give the front office, including a certain TD that people want out, some credit on the Moreno signing? Also, I'm liking how the Araujo signing looks so far. Gee, it's almost like they knew what they were doing. Reminds me of the Braves fans with AA. Luis Araujo is someone who we have not talked about this evening. What do you guys think of his second appearance?
Thought he did really well. One, I love the fact that when Reyna tried stepping up to him, Araujo turned around and started barking right back, and it looked like Reyna very quickly decided, yeah, I don't want any of that. He took his action elsewhere. Look, very fluid on the ball, ability to change gears very quickly, and I think that's something that's going to mess a lot of teams up. Brilliant signing so far, 2 appearances, but you got to love what you've seen. Do agree with the grief that the front office gets. I understand that some of the angst when it comes to previous players who aren't here anymore, one of which played in this game. However, the Moreno signing, once again, like we talked about last week, when you remove the shackles of an evangelist, of a coaching evangelist, and allow a player to utilize their full abilities without reservation, you can really see who the players are. When we talk about, that infamous thing that always makes me cringe a bit, that the player needs to express himself creatively. And they're like, okay, well, what the blank does that even mean? Well, put a ball at the feet of one Mr. Moreno and watch him do what he does, and you're like, okay, that's it. Okay, that's what he...
Artistry, imagination, painting outside the lines.
Exactly. And so the scouting is there. You can just some signings or releases if you want, or trades. That's fine. That's part of our wonderful game, especially in a salary cap league. But, I'll give Darren this. And let me go ahead and again state for the record, I do not work in any capacity for Atlanta United. I don't work on the Twos broadcast. I don't work on the mainline broadcast. I have never even shaken hands with Darren Eales in my life. But I will tell you this. When things were at their lowest this season at the tailgates, Darren Eales is still walking around in a suit in 100 and plus 10-degree weather, especially on that blacktop, doing guaro shots and rum shot, everything, hanging out with the supporters and all that. That takes some stones, man. I don't know a lot of guys who would do that, but I do. I think it's okay to allow a little bit of space because things seem to be turning around, whilst appropriately applying criticism for things that maybe missteps in the past, but they seem to be rectifying that. And if anybody makes a mistake, all I ask is that you own it and you rectify it, right? You can crucify somebody for a mistake all day long, but you're not going to get anything out of it. You're going to make yourself feel better by releasing that maybe pent up anger, but at the same time, nothing's going to get done. There's no remediation taking place. If you allow the person to say, hey, yep, raise hand, we screwed up, now here's what we're doing to provide remediation. Okay, fantastic. They seem to be doing that. You got 4 wins in a row. There's stability within the org. And I think that that's all you can ask for at this point. Jarrett, you.
Yeah, I mean, right now you're in a situation where it feels like everything is now moving in the right direction, so everybody's going to be warm and fuzzy about it. But look, I mean, people get emotional about things, and it's going to happen. To your point about putting their hands up, Brad Guzan just did that. Basically, doing a mea culpa for everyone about the Golden Knights. He said he thought Lennon was closer than he was on the play, and he was very happy that he said that was his mistake, and he was very happy Marcelino Moreno was there to clean it up and get the winning goal. Also, apparently, Marcelino was like 50-50 to even play tonight, so that's just terrifying.
Yeah, and Rob Valentino gives him credit for putting in 60 minutes as a 50-50 guy coming into tonight.
You were playing with a ball playing 6 at the back with no stopper in front of the back line. The balls it took to do that, man. Jesus. But yeah, I mean, you're going to deal with the fact that people are going to stay in their feelings about stuff. It happens. People get emotional about these sorts of things. And I think even if next week with 7 days off, even if things aren't perfect, next Saturday night, I think people will be in a good mood about it all because you're in a situation now where you don't have that gaggle of bodies between you and the playoff line. You're right there at it now. So you're in better shape. So let's enjoy it because it's a hard-fought, tough win. You don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. You can absolutely always expect and demand better from your teams. That is totally okay. But I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, especially like the Toronto game, for instance. Was not perfect. A lot to clean up there. But you'd also never beaten Toronto before, so you got that monkey off your back. DC has kind of been one of your on-again, off-again boogeymen at times. And you win in there in a weird situation. You got it done. And, Darren Eales was doing shots before the game. He's going to have to do shots everywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting him to be in Pittsburgh tomorrow doing shots for any Twos fans that want to be there.
There you go. Game's at Highmark, 7 o'clock, and it sounds like there's going to be a watch-along as well. So keep an eye on that for the network, and keep an eye on what the idea is there. 7 o'clock tomorrow night, Atlanta United 2 in Pittsburgh against a very, very tough Riverhound side. And Jarrett, you mentioned Toronto, so they go down to Fort Lauderdale tonight, lose 3-1 to Inter Miami. So the decision that was made to rotate your lineup and not start Pozuelo and Soteldo backfires in Atlanta, and then you have to turn around on short rest, and you lose 3-1 to Inter Miami tonight. Mm-hmm. So double whammy there for Toronto, and they are last in the East at 3-6-12. They've lost 4 of their last 5 at 15 points. FC Cincinnati with the loss tonight, they're still 2 points ahead of Toronto FC at 17 points. Couple more on Twitter before we go. 5-Stripe Wildcat says, still, and this is all 4 words with periods after each, still shaking, scary, fun. So I'm sure it was nerve-wracking for a lot of folks, especially in that 20 minutes, and then hanging on for Atlanta United in the 2-1 win. Last one on the board comes from Thomas Jewin. He says, I've been told by many fans Atlanta United hasn't made a good signing since 2018. I don't think I agree with that, considering even just Barco and Moreno's quality lately. Thoughts? What do you guys think? Nick first.
Yeah, Barco has improved. You signed a very young player, had a couple of bonehead decisions on the field and off it that really didn't help him out too much. Then he started sorting himself. And I think now you're seeing a player who can be moved and have some money made off of the deal. And I think that's what you're looking for. Outside of that, Moreno's been a great signing. You have, Franco, I think was starting to find his feet. Obviously took a knock tonight, but he's been finding his feet. Lennon, who you brought in to replace Gressel, I think he's been doing exceptionally well. Araujo has so far has looked like every bit of what you would expect a DP to be in this league. They're good players all over the place. Sosa, when he first came in this season, was a huge bright spot. People were talking about, I'm going to get a Sosa jersey. Now I think he's a bit burned out at the moment, but I mean the kid's good, and so then you have all these other kids who some are injured and you may not like the contract numbers, but when they've had moments to shine, they've been really, really darn good. So, yeah, I would implore you, don't compare this team with like Chelsea or Man City, any of these squads that have unlimited spending ability. Look at your peer group and compare yourself with Minnesota, compare yourself with what has largely been a disaster down in Miami. Compare yourself, look at Orlando. The wheels are falling off there. Look at, around the league and say, okay, who would we rather change spots with? There aren't many, especially when it comes to ownership groups who are in front offices who are willing to spend money. And anytime you spend that kind of money, there's risk involved. And the risk involved is that the player may work out, the player may not. And so, you could call Pete a bust, but Pete did pretty darn well, and you were able to make money on the deal. I don't know how you call that a failure, but I'm just saying, it just seemed to work out. So look at your peer group and then decide, and then say, okay, who would we change places with? And I don't think you're going to find too many people that you'd be like, I'll change this ownership group out for that and their players out for ours. I don't think there's too many. Jarrett?
So this roster, all right, let's. I mean, I don't know. You've pretty much covered it. The roster's fine. Like I said, it's hyperbole from people. I don't love Jurgen Dahm's contract number, but you got him on a free.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a bad idea at the time.
Right.
Brooks Lennon, because of what you thought you had in the system you thought you were going to be playing when Brooks Lennon came in, you thought it was going to be a 3 at the back. Him playing a right wing back is a big step up from Julian Gressel. Now, if you're talking about someone playing the right wing advanced, Gressel's that guy. If you thought it was going to be a wing back role, Brooks Lennon was the guy, and it's the guy for that. It was hard to judge Mateus Aceto. We didn't get to see a ton of him last year, and also COVID kind of ruined a lot of things. But
he's developed and grown into the roles that you want him to do.
He has talent. He is developing into the guy that I wanted him to be, and I put pressure on him personally. Where I said, he was in a similar boat that Heinemann was. There's another one that people like to dunk on. He needed to show me something, and he has. Marcelino is a very good depth signing, which, man, we don't talk nearly enough, in my opinion, about how good Atlanta has been at finding, at going to big lots around the league and getting guys like a Marcelino or a Miram when they got him. They've been really good at going and finding these guys from other teams in the league in the middle of the season to step in and pick up minutes. Yeah, Barco, like I said, Barco gets kicked like a mule. Now that he's kind of finding his rhythm, you want to see what he can do. Marcelino Moreno was great last year. Everybody raved about him. And then when this year didn't start good, everybody was ready to throw him out, throw out the baby with the bathwater, because people have I think people are still a little shell-shocked from the PT experience, which PT wasn't bad. Arejo just does a similar thing where he has the J.R. Smith green light. Sometimes you don't want him to have it, but he has it. And it's the same thing that we've talked about with Marcelino Moreno before he went on this tear of, I want to see him pull up and shoot. And he started doing that. Luis has that as well. You just have to live with the fact that he has that because of what he can create with it. Came damn close to getting his first goal tonight. Was called offside in about the 33rd minute. The roster's fine. You want to make it better? Sure. Every team in the league wants to make it better. Wants to make their rosters better. It's a salary cap league. You do what you can with it. You're going to clear money off the books eventually. I think Jurgen Damm is a candidate for that just because of how big the number is and the fact that no one has ever made a roster while sitting on the training table.
Yeah.
He's got to be able to get in the game. But, guys like Jake Mulroney, I think coming into this stretch before he got hurt was establishing himself as a fantastic I need an attacking player off the bench guy. He was absolutely that guy, and he was doing fantastic work at it. So you had different guys to fit into this team differently. Yeah, having Joseph helps. That's a hell of a cheat code. Like, Joseph Martinez is the world's best game genie for MLS, but it's not a bad team. And, I feel like we've forgotten Jackson Conway exists because of, right now you're in a situation where Joseph's able to give you 90 minutes if you need him to. And then Kubo Torres, everyone has learned that Kubo helped write the book on the dark arts. I was expecting Kubo tonight to come in there and start a fist fight with Felipe Martins. Just didn't happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody's gonna be okay. This team is probably not gonna win the wooden spoon. Roster construction is gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if they change the front office up, I'm not gonna consider that to be damning one way or another, because no team has nailed their front office. By the way, you want to talk about somebody who missed, and we don't talk about enough. If we want to talk about people missing on DPs, go look at what DC paid for Flores, and he has not. Buddy, he has not been that guy. And DC's not a team that flashes their cash around. So when they flash it around and they miss, it's a bigger impact.
So that's your salty takeaways, and most of them having to do with Neema Sagafi, and not necessarily a bitter end, because for the fourth time in a row, Atlanta United has come away with full points, 3 points in a grinder with grapefruits, cojones. What term am I missing?
Yeah, I don't know if we're missing a term.
Yeah?
I don't know if we're missing a term. None that are radio safe, anyway.
Mobbles.
Yeah, well, we're safe. We're in safe harbor.
Yeah, it's true. We are in safe harbor. But once again, great result for Atlanta United tonight. Weathered the storm in D.C., got the 2-1 win, and with the standings right now, it is tiebreakers that keep them from being out of the playoffs right now, 8th, and only 5 points away from a possibility of 4th or even 3rd. We will obviously let everybody else know what is going on by the time we get to Overreaction Monday. I will not be overreacting on Monday. I will, however, be on Nightside for soccer over there, because there might be some Conca Cinco-y things, and I'm sure that I have to be ridiculed for my selections when it comes to our picks for the 9,000th week in a row. So keep an eye on that.
I think I'm right there with you. I don't think this week went well for me either.
But remember, midweek, it's the All-Star game against Liga MX, and that's going to be something huge in the midweek, and then the games pick right back up next weekend. So it's going to be a big week to discuss things as we get to MLS All-Star and beyond. So for Nick Alifi, for Jarrett Smith, I am just John. Thanks for hanging out with us for another go-round of Salty Takeaways. Play safe, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.